Look out! Here come former SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Maybe one of the three of us, maybe all three of us before the show is over. Welcome to Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks on Hilton Head Island. Fabulous fresh seafood restaurant that has been a big fan of all of ours, I know, for a lot of years. It's a super place to go if you're ever on Hilton Head Island. Come and join us at Hudson's on the Docks. And we're going to start in a place tonight that we have rarely started in the year that we've been doing this, and that's baseball. America's pastime, all that good stuff. Over my shoulder, there you go. You got Guardians and Yankees. Rich Basirico, of course, the Yankee fan. I, of course, the Guardians fan. Curry, of course, the umpire. And if he was the umpire of last night's game, he'd have been thrown under the bus because he had such a tight strike zone. The strike zone was about like this. And so there were 23 walks in the game. Wow. The Guardians left 20 men on base, where they were like 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position until the 12th inning. They finally broke through, scored 6 runs. The Yankees could only come back with 2, and the Guardians win 9-5 in the longest game so far this year, 4 hours and 5 minutes. And let's throw the umpire under the bus.
As the umpire, I'll just throw in that they almost went longer than the Democrats, which is hard to do. But, I'm an umpire, but I'm also a St. Louis Cardinal guy. I don't get interested in baseball until the World Series, until the playoffs, except for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they've gone south. So, but I am getting, this thing is playing out. I mean, we're already looking, I think, at the Final Four in each league. And the Guardians-Yankees had like a playoff game last night. And so did the Braves and Phillies played, and they're probably going to be 2 of the Final Four, I think. So it's getting really interesting.
Yeah. Well, there's so many teams that have been up and down. I mean, the Baltimore Orioles, who were playing so well, and all of a sudden they've taken a nosedive. I mean, they're still in the race for the Yankees. Cleveland's been up and down, right, Bob? I mean, they've had some stretches they've been terrific and stretches not so good. It's all over the map. The teams that I think are coming on strong right now is Arizona and Houston. They're really coming on. And Curry, Atlanta, they're in the wild card, but there's the Mets and the Giants are not too far behind. They might not even make the playoffs. Obviously, September will tell the story there. But I mean, when you sit there and go, okay, who do you think's going to win the World Series? Last year, I thought the Braves, the Dodgers. This year, I could. Who would you say? I mean,
but that happens every year, doesn't it, Rich?
Well,
I mean, it's you never know who's going to win the World Series.
It's somewhat, you always have your stronger teams that you think, okay, these guys are going to make it happen. Right now, who's the strongest team? The Dodgers are up and down. The Yankees are up and down. I mean, Philly's been up and down. I mean, it's
Yep. Who would have thought Arizona would have gotten in the series last year?
Right, exactly. Or Texas winning it.
This is going to be like this will be like the NCAA basketball tournament, right? Just get in. And you've got a chance to win. Exactly. Nobody's going to win 100 games this year. No team is going to win 100 games. The White Sox have almost lost 100.
I would have still liked Atlanta's chances to get in, but now they lost Austin Riley, the third baseman, and he broke his hand. And that's a huge loss, I think. But then the guy Ozuna, who's had an amazing year, he came back and they beat the Phillies with a home run by him. It was interesting. He's quietly looking like he might win the Triple Crown. I mean, he's only 2 home runs behind in the home run. He's leading RBIs and batting average. This guy was just thrown out of St. Louis, threw him out, didn't like him. And he's going to Atlanta. Had a couple of years ago, he had a terrible season. Atlanta wanted to get rid of him, and now he's going for the Triple Crown. He said the other night after he has 37 and Ohtani has 39 home runs. So he's second there. And they asked him about the Triple Crown. And he said, I don't think about it because, the guy on the other side is a robot. He called Otani. He called Otani a robot.
That's pretty
cool. Speaking of winning Triple Crowns, Rich's guys got a chance to do it. Aaron Judge hit another home run last night. He's what I'm impressed by is his batting average. He's not always been a great batting average hitter. Sure, he hits home runs, he drives in runs, but he's hitting 315 or something like that. And
he started off slow in terms of batting averages. He struggled early in the season, but he's really coming on.
I got to tell you, the Yankees lineup though might be the worst good team lineup I've ever seen, but other than Soto and Judge.
Right. It goes downhill after that, big time. I mean, you look at their batting averages, it's embarrassing. It really is. Besides Soto and Judge, it's embarrassing. 188. Where they keep on playing these guys. They convince themselves they're going to do great, and they don't. And the guy that I have to throw under the bus is Aaron Boone. The other night, putting in Clay Holmes, he's blown. You're talking about winning 100 games. He's blown 10 games, 10 saves he's blown. That's a lot. And they continue to be his closer. But let me ask you guys, a closer, why can't you put somebody in who's pitched middle relief and put him in the ninth? Just don't tell me.
Yeah, we just threw him out of the game and under the bus. Rich goes under the bus. I'll pick it up though. His closer. And again, the Yankees are right there. They're tied for first or whatever with the Orioles. Hey, Rich is back. All right, go ahead. You want to move a middle reliever? Is that what you want to do?
I mean, they say this guy's a middle reliever, this guy's a long reliever, this guy's a closer. You're a pitcher. If I put you in the 8th inning or the 9th inning, does it make a difference? I mean, if you're coming in when the inning begins, does it make a difference? If I say, well, this guy's only a closer, he can't pitch a middle reliever, or the guy who pitches the 6th and 7th inning can't pitch the 9th inning, just find your best relief pitcher and put him in the 9th inning.
Something Terry Francona, I think he kind of invented it in 2016 when the Guardians, the Indians back then, made their run and ended up playing the Cubs in the World Series. Is that they got Andrew Miller from the Yankees, by the way, and he was the closer type, but they used him in what they call nowadays the highest leverage situation. Might be the 7th inning, might be the 8th inning, might be the 6th inning. The three guys you got to get out, bring him in to get them out.
Right. And I remember Miller doing that.
Yeah, and Cleveland did it last night with Clase, who is a regular. He's the closer. He's maybe the best closer in the game. He's got 37 saves. He's got an ERA of under 1. He's given up 4 earned runs all year.
Wow.
He saved the game in the bottom of the 10th, didn't he? The game.
And he pitched not only the 9th when they were just tied, they weren't in a winning situation. He pitched the 9th and then came out and pitched the 10th. He pitched 2 innings, which is rare for him.
Why couldn't he have pitched the 11th, though? Why didn't he leave him in?
He asked. No. He asked the manager, I want to go back out. I've only thrown 20 pitches in 2 innings. Let me go back out and pitch. And Vogt, the rookie manager, shut him down and said, no. We want you to be able to pitch tomorrow night too. So meaning
maybe
tonight.
They should go back, but with all these relievers and what are they, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, maybe they should go back to starters staying in the game longer.
I agree.
Well, we've had this discussion, and then they wouldn't have to worry about relievers pitching 7, 8, 9. Let the starters pitch.
That's one of the things the commissioner's office is taking a look at. And all these things they've done over the last few years to pick up the pace of the game. They're now worried about pitchers not pitching very long. And again, as a Guardians fan, I get this all the time. We're lucky if we can get our starter through 5 innings. And then you get the parade of bullpen pitchers. It's great because our bullpen's the best in baseball, but our starters are awful. So the commissioner's office is thinking, and ponder this one, Curry. You're a good judge of all this. We've called you the umpire already tonight. Major League Baseball is saying, the pitcher has to go 6 innings unless 2 or 3 things happen. He gets hurt. He really does get hammered. And a couple other things. They want to do that, or tie having the designated hitter. You get the designated hitter as long as your starting pitcher's in the game. When you lose the starting pitcher, you lose the DH.
Wow.
Interesting thoughts.
Well,
Yeah,
this
you
is
like
gonna
that?
get-
That's something to
this
think
is
about
gonna get-
anyway, isn't
That's
it?
different. That's definitely different for
It's
sure.
going to get very confusing. They keep doing this. So isn't the rule now that when a reliever comes in, he has to
It's
pitch
three
to
batters.
three batters?
Three batters.
Yeah.
Three batters.
Yeah. But
That's
see,
a good,
that's,
and it has so far, I think, been a pretty good rule.
that has been a good rule. But
Yeah.
I'm like Curry. Why can't the starters go longer? Why back in the days when Koufax and Gibson, all those guys could pitch 9, 10, 11 innings,
Yeah.
and they didn't break down, and they worried about these guys always breaking. You're breaking them down because you're not letting them pitch enough.
Yeah, that's it.
And Boone's
That's
bad
what-
about that. He yanks guys all the time. 5 innings, 6 innings.
That's what
boom, you're
Bob
out.
Feller used to. I was lucky enough when I worked in Cleveland to get to sit in the press box sometimes, and Bob Feller would be there, and you'd get in a conversation about that. And you should hear him go off
Really?
on the wussy pitchers. That they can't go 7, 8 innings. There are a couple of reasons, I think. First of all, they got him throwing 100 miles an hour. They don't need to be, Greg Maddux could pitch complete games because he didn't throw 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Through the spots.
Wasn't there just a controversy in Pittsburgh about the young guy that Cleves that they don't know what to
Skeens,
do?
yeah.
Skeens,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
whether
Yeah.
to shut him down for the season now, maybe.
They're thinking about it.
Well,
Part of that, and it's interesting because the sports writers might decide whether or not that can happen. There's a new part of the collective bargaining agreement. It's all about service time. How long will Pittsburgh get to keep Skeens until they have to pay him? And his service time right now will not get him. He won't get the count this year as a year of service because it's not. He wasn't up for the year.
Skeens hasn't even pitched as much as he did at LSU last year, has he?
No, I think he has. I think he has because he only pitched once a week in college anyway. But anyway, if Skeens is voted, if he's the rookie of the year or if he finishes second, the top 2 guys for rookie of the year get to count their service time. That's something weird that they negotiated.
How about that? That's interesting.
Yeah.
He'll be, and
so
I'm sure
Cleveland, Tanner Bybee got to count last year because he was runner-up for rookie of the year, and Skeens could get to count it. If the sports writers, if they vote him third, he doesn't get to count it. So Pittsburgh might want to shut him down and might want to start telling bad stories about, this guy's no good, he's terrible. Just so the sports writers don't vote for him.
Right about it, yeah, because we don't know anything.
What's the biggest thing you ever got to vote for, Curry?
I've never been on any of those at the magazine Sports Illustrated. We never were on any picking the All-Star team or picking the most valuable player at the end of the year. We never were on that.
Oh,
but how about college basketball players, right? Did you get picked for the player of the year?
No. And I don't know if it was a rule at the magazine or because I never asked. We just never did it.
I had a Heisman vote for 2 years back in the day.
Who'd you pick?
Who'd you select?
Well, the one year was Barry Sanders. I was working in Oklahoma. That was easy. The other year was Tim Brown's Heisman. And I actually asked a couple of the head coaches that I knew back then, football coaches, all right, I got a Heisman vote. What do you think? And the coach at Tulsa at the time, George Henshaw, told me, he says, give it to the guy that you would hand the ball to and say, go win the game for me. And he said he would have probably voted for Tim Brown. It was kind of one of those weird. Gordy Lockbaum was almost, I think he finished third that year, and I think he was third on my ballot. But I voted for Tim Brown, although I'm not a big Notre Dame fan.
And who was second? Did Brown win by a lot?
I think he won fairly comfortably. I don't remember who was second. It might have been. Boy, we're getting close to where it could have been Peyton Manning, but I don't remember who finished second that year. Right. We'll have to look that up. We'll put Justin on that on that effort. The 88 Heisman Trophy. We'll find out how that all turned out. Are we okay? Rich, you like? Let's pick a team. Let's pick a team every week that we think, okay, this is the team that's going to win the World Series. Okay. Back to baseball, and we'll wrap it up.
Ooh, that's I don't think it's the Yankees.
All right.
I picked Dodgers.
All right.
Dodgers.
I'm gonna pick Philly.
All right. All right. You know what? I'm going to come out of left field because I've watched them play recently. I got two teams. Milwaukee.
You can't have two. You can't have two.
Okay. Okay. Then I'll take San Diego.
Wow.
Ooh.
Watched them a couple of weeks ago. Watched them just cut through the Guardians like a hot knife through butter. They've got some great hitters and some great pitching. They've got some super arms that they just keep rolling them out there. And I think it's going to come down to pitching, and that's why I kind of like them. Or like I said, the Guardians just finished getting beat up by Milwaukee. Boy, they look good, and nobody knows anything about them. They lost their best player.
Milwaukee, to me, is the biggest story of the year. It's unbelievable. They've won like 7 or 8 straight. Nobody knows anybody on their team. They
have not lost 3 in a row all year, or more than 3 in a row all year. Cleveland had done that until they lost 7 in a row a couple of weeks ago. But Milwaukee's an unknown story.
They lost their manager who went to the Cubs.
Right.
And the guy managing him now is the former college baseball. He coached Notre Dame, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. And he's an older guy.
Murphy. Yeah.
Remember George Bamberger when he coached the Brew Crew back in the 80s? He was kind of an odd choice, older guy, didn't seem to fit with the younger kids that were playing at the time, and he got them through. Maybe this is George Bamberger reincarnated. We could get into a whole discussion about reincarnation, but we probably won't. Let's talk some football. We'll talk some other good stuff coming up. Here we go. Heisman voting. Don McPherson of Syracuse was second.
Oh, wow. I did a story on Don McPherson that year.
There you go.
Yes.
How about that?
He was the runner-up. Lorenzo White finished 4th. Chris Spielman was 6th.
No, Manning isn't in there, right?
No. He wasn't playing yet. I thought we were close to that. Manning was a decade later. This is
I think
never mind.
Way ahead of yourself. Hey, listen, before we get into whatever we're going to do, football camps or something, I wanted to bring up a few weird things. I mean, weird was an American word going around a lot.
Can we take a quick break because we're already 18 minutes in?
Yeah.
Sure. No, let's do that, and then let's roll. Let's go with it's Curry's segment coming up next. You won't want to miss that. He's going to throw all kinds of people under the bus. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. Yankees already have 2 in the bottom of the first, Rich.
Oh,
nice job.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't think there's even anybody out. I mean, they're just killing them. So, rookie pitcher that got called up.
Wait till you get to our bullpen and you see what happens.
I can't wait. The sooner the better. All right, Curry, what do you got? It is a lot of weird stuff.
Well, yeah, I was just about to say weird was a word used a lot last week by both the Democrats and Republicans. They're all calling each other weird. But there was so many weird stuff in sports world. My favorite story was the trash talk between Noah Lyles, who's, of course, our sprinter, our great 100-yard sprint champion, fastest man in the world in the Olympics, and Tyreek Hill, who's the fastest man in the NFL. And it was funny because it really started when Lyles, a few months ago, the Celtics won the championship. And of course, they declared themselves the world champions. And Lyles came out and said, "World champions of what?" This is no Lyles. This is before the Olympics. He said, whatever they were world champions, what world are we talking about? And it offended it actually obviously offended a lot of NFL and NBA players, because they figure when they win their championship, they're the world champions. Lyles was kind of offending everybody. So Hill said, "Look, I can beat this guy." Hill came out on his podcast, said, "I can beat Noah Lyles." And he, to his credit, he said, it would be close, but I would beat him. Well, of course, Noah Lyles went nuts on Hill. He said, first of all, he said he didn't know who he was.
Wow.
And then he said, look, this guy, anyone somebody fast comes along in the last years, Tyreek Hill says, any one of our sprinters comes along fast, Tyreek Hill says he can beat him, but he never does. He never shows up. He never, he said the man, the man dodges smoke. I don't got time for that, said Noah Lyles. Well, then Hill said, well, let's race. No, I'll race him. Let's let's sign a contract and it'll be 50-yard dash. Well, wait a minute. Lyles said, wait a minute. He didn't say this, but that's changing the goalposts. That's moving the goalposts, changing the rules. I was going to ask you guys, Hill last year won a 60-meter dash, against track guys. He ran it in 6.3 seconds to 60. Now, if he wants to run against Lyles in a 50-yard dash, we know Lyles is not a fast starter, and that's his what?
Weakness.
Fault. His weakness. Yeah. His weakness is his start. So I wonder, put it to you guys. You've seen these guys race. You've seen Tyreek Hill. Now he wouldn't have pads on. They'd run in a race. Of course, when fast in the NFL is not fast in the Olympics. Okay, but maybe it is. I mean, what do you think if they ran 50? Do you think Hill would have a chance?
Sure. I think he has a chance. Sure, absolutely. But that would be a great race to have. Wouldn't it? I mean, you would draw so many people watching that. It's like It's Foolish Pleasure and was it Secretariat? Who ran in the male-female race?
Well, that was a male-female. That was a
right, just two-horse race.
But I'm wondering, Hill wants to race at 50, and of course Niles would want to race at 100.
Right.
And I think Niles would destroy him in the 100. I think he'd just run away because Niles just goes crazy in the second half of the race. But so I'd say, okay, let's compromise. Run 75-yard dash. Okay, run 75. And if Hill, wanted to do that, we can pull it off.
Well,
I think you're exactly right. If they go 100 yards, Hill doesn't win. He doesn't win. 50 yards. 50 yards. He's got a shot. He's definitely got a shot. 50.
Yeah, especially that's how Lyles races. His second half of the race is unbelievable.
Well, you think in football when he runs a route, if he he's running 30, 40, 50 yards max. He's not running 100 yards. He's not starting at the goal line going the other way.
Yeah,
Well, that's it. Football players run 40s. That's what their time is in the 40. And so, 75. I like 75 because it's a race neither one of them has ever run before.
Yeah.
How do you run 75 yards? When do you, I guess you turn it on from the beginning, but, I would actually have to wait till 50 yards to actually, start to run. I would still be way slow the first 50. That's good. Bob Hayes and Skeets Nehemiah. Any stories, Curry?
We don't want to see you race, Bob. What are you talking about? Another weird matchup. Another weird matchup that came to the fore this week was the Mike Tyson Jake Paul boxing match. Now we thought that was dead when Tyson, they were supposed to do this last spring, and Mike Tyson had health issues, and so he couldn't. They called it off. Well, it's back on. It's back on for November 15, in a week after the election, by the way, in Jerry World. Now they want, what they should do? They should have Hill and Noah Lyles be the warm up. They would fill the place, the undercard. But what do you think? Mike is 58 years old. This Jake Paul's 31. No, he's 31 years older than Jake Paul.
Okay.
So he's got 31 years on him. And Paul, they had a press conference in New York the other day, and they faced off against each other and talked smack and all that stuff. And then the New York crowd's in New York, so New York crowd started booing Jake Paul. Of course, Paul's the villain. Mike Tyson now is the cuddly bear that we used to think would kill people. So,
How'd that happen?
so they're booing the hell out of Jake Paul. And he said, this is a great line. He said, "Hey, New York, shut the F up. New York, shut up," which a lot of people have wanted to say over the years. Shut up, New York. Boo yourself. Boo yourselves. You're just like Mike Tyson. You were great 20 years ago.
Wow. That's throwing New York under the bus for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. And Jake,
Hey,
this is just a glorified exhibition if it even ever comes true. But Jake Paul thinks he's on some kind of championship run. He wants to fight Canelo Alvarez, who's like a super middleweight. But I think he'd have to lose weight to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
remember back in the day when Ali and when Wilt Chamberlain was mouthing a little bit that he wanted to fight Ali?
Oh yes,
And it never happened.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember Cosell actually, I think, got them together in the same room and had them, do like a reach thing, and Chamberlain could hold him off. There was no way Ali could get close. Chamberlain's arms were so long. But
can I tell the Ali story?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I think you've told that, but it's a great story. You just tell it every week.
Curry knows. I don't know if Bob. So my wife was the nurse for Ali when he came to Hilton Head and was being treated after he retired, and she said he was so kind and so nice. And they were doing a treatment one day, and Ali turned to my wife and said, "Is this going to hurt?" And she says, "Oh," she called him Champ. She says, "Champ, no, this is not going to hurt at all." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what. If it does," he put his hand like this. "This is what you're going to get."
I love it. Great stuff.
But tell the key story, Rich.
What's that? Which one?
About Ali. What you didn't do.
You tell me. I forgot.
Well, you wanted to have him over at your house.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're right. I told my wife a dozen times, please invite him over for dinner, because when he comes for his treatment, he's there for a couple hours, and he used to go to the mall and do magic tricks for the kids. And he and his wife just really had no place to go. So I said to Karen, just have him come to our house for dinner. And she goes, she goes, he would come. I said, well, then that's why you should invite him. And she said, well, I just can't do that. So she never did. And that's my biggest regret in my life, not having a chance to have dinner with Ali. We were very close. It just didn't happen. She said he'll definitely come. Well, I said, well, darn it, then go ahead and invite him, please.
Yeah.
But she did.
Rich, you could do your own podcast. You wouldn't even need us if that would have happened. Just telling Ali stories would have been great. Hey, we got a lot more stuff to get into. Let's take a quick break and let's come back and we got a lot of other weird stuff that'll send us off on some goofy tangent as we throw some more folks under the bus. Welcome back to Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. That's the website, hudsonsonthedocks.com, Hilton Head Island's legendary seafood landmark. You should, if you're ever, again, on Hilton Head Island, you should go check it out just because. It's fantastic.
It's
along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico, I'm Bob Stevens. Yeah, it's good. Of course it's good. What else? It has been a weird week. I got one for the tennis guy. Curry, Yannick Sinner, the number one tennis player in the world, was basically convicted of steroid use. Not once, but twice. He flunked 2 steroid tests. Now, they made him give up his points, so he might no longer be number one, but no suspension. They said he didn't know that he was unaware that he had somehow taken anabolic steroids. Does anybody else get a pass like this? This is amazing.
Well, that's the old story. They're never aware of it, but they gave him a break because it was apparently in a massage. The steroid was in some kind of juice or cream that the massage guy was given. So
it was the cream. Not the clear?
That's right. It was his massage guy that was at fault, so he's probably looking for another job. Sinner, it's interesting. I watched the tennis all weekend because
Okay.
the Cincinnati tournament had everybody. Alcaraz lost early in the tournament. Swiatek, the best woman in the world, lost earlier in the tournament. And Sinner kept rolling through guys. He beat our young American guy in the final, but it was really close. And this was before this thing came out about the steroids.
Right.
So I think they are giving a break. But they, it sounded to me like he was innocent. But who knows? I don't know.
So who wins the U.S. Open? That's getting started here very soon.
I like Alcaraz, and I like Swiatek to come back and win it. Of course, everybody talks about Coco Gauff, but she's had a bad time since she won the Open last year, and done much.
That settles that.
But how about all these baseball players? Did they know they were taking steroids? Roger Clemens, Sammy, and all those guys. Can't they claim? I didn't know I was taking it, even though Roger Clemens's doctor was shooting him up. Don't they claim they didn't know?
And Barry Bonds looked like a 250-pound lineman when he finished with his shooting him up. I want to talk about something else, a weird team. I want to hark back to the Olympics and Olympic swimming, because 3 members of the Notre Dame swim team, 2 guys and a girl, swam in the Olympics, and one of them, Chris Giuliano, I think that's his name, won a gold medal on the 400-meter freestyle relay team.
Okay.
The next week, which was actually last week, I guess, the Notre Dame swim team was the entire men's team was suspended for a year due to the swimmers betting on themselves. The quote was, swimmers were betting on the results of their own competition and failing to treat one another with dignity and respect. So they were betting each other on their times in their own meets.
Wow.
Now, who knows? Maybe they were betting on maybe in other meets too, but that's what came out. They apparently were setting up this makeshift sports book, which sounds like Rich Basirico, which they wagered on their times against each other at the meets. Of course, Notre Dame officials called this failing to treat themselves with dignity and respect. I thought
dignity and respect.
So in essence,
is that coming back to college sports?
Then, huh? Can you imagine Joe Montana and your boy Tim Brown betting on themselves in a game? Who's going to get more yards in a game? I guess Montana wouldn't throw to Tim Brown in the game or something.
That's right.
There you go.
I mean, Jimmy the Greek and Newt Rockne are rolling in their graves over this one. I don't. I thought of this.
Lou Holtz probably would have wanted some of the action, though, right?
Well, I wonder. What do you wonder? What do you bet that this betting stuff within teams, like basketball teammates, football teammates, do you think they bet on what they're going to do in their games? I wouldn't doubt it.
No, I bet you they would. I bet you they do. Say for sure.
I mean, there's so much betting going on these days. This has become a huge thing in sports. And basketball teams and football teams sit around, baseball teams sit around, in their locker and talk about it. And, they're not allowed to bet on anything, I guess. But maybe between themselves, they say, "Hey, I'm gonna get 75 this week, 75 yards." Yeah. And their other running back says, "No, I'm gonna get 75." Yeah.
But at baseball games, this is with fans. I've been sitting there, and these guys behind where I was sitting were betting on every pitch. This is a strike. No, this is going to be a foul ball. This is going to be a hit. Every pitch, they were betting.
Right. Do it. Now you can do it online.
That's
we can
true.
Sit and watch the game and bet on every pitch.
That's what they were doing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Curry, I thought you were going to bring up about Tua.
Oh, well, let's go to the football camps. Yeah.
Let's do that. We got time for this story.
You want to do this now?
Sure.
Well, Tua was interviewed. Of course, the Miami quarterback was interviewed the other day and said that, he was comparing his coach, Brian Flores, his former coach, to his current coach, McDaniel. And he said the guy Flores would say that Tua sucked and he didn't have any heart. And what was he doing around here? Why didn't he get out of here? Stuff like that. And he called him a terrible human being.
Yeah.
I mean, whoa! I mean, this made headlines everywhere.
Right.
Because Flores was fired after 2 years, actually winning 19 games in those 2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And with Tua, who apparently he hated, and Tua hated him.
Mm-hmm.
So Flores moves on, and he's now the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And so they asked him about this, the next day, and he said, "Well, I'll try to be." But he didn't deny any of it. By the way,
No.
he didn't deny. He said, "I'll try to be better. I'm going to grow. I'm going to keep growing." And
I thought he handled it. I thought he handled it really well. I mean, he didn't fire back.
I thought so too, Rich. I thought so too.
Really well.
Well,
But
of course, you're a
Tua,
coach.
I think Tua. I mean, I know some bad things were said to him, but 2 years later, you bring it up for what reason? What's the purpose of bringing that up? To me, you don't do that. Athletes shouldn't be doing that. If you don't connect with your coach, go talk to him and figure it out. But you should be putting that stuff out, especially 2 years later. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish? Really, you can ruin the guy's career.
Well, that's what he apparently tried to do. I think. It wasn't a good look for Tua, who I've always liked, but it was a terrible look for him to do that to the poor guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he apparently did all this and he said all this stuff, and he's a tough coach apparently. And Flores was very apologetic, but he didn't deny what he did.
Well, he was trying. Their coaches' philosophies are all different. And some guys want to break guys down, and I'm sure that's what he was trying to do with Tua, break them down. But you got to build them back up also. You can't just break a guy down and not build him back up. But the job of coaches is to get into each athlete's head and find out what makes them play to the best of their own ability. Some guys you got to hug and put your arms on their shoulders and tell them you love them. Some guys you go after them, but you got to still build it back up. And obviously he did not. But
when Flores came out to respond, he had he brought a couple of his players with him. So that was his backup.
Right.
And they praised the guy. All of the Vikings are praising the guy now. So I was going to ask you, Rich, because you are a coach. I mean, you were a high school coach, but you gotta give us the truth now. Did you have any guys on your teams through the years that you really had difficulties with, that maybe you didn't like and you knew they didn't like you? I mean, these are high school kids. You can't choose. Right. You can't choose, and they can't choose if they want to play.
Yeah, I had one of the example is a player I had kind of moved in. His parents unfortunately were separated, and he came to live with his dad, and actually his mom lived in Buffalo, and he was a terrific player. But we didn't connect very well, and but he was great. I mean, we beat Hilton High School. We were down 16 in the fourth quarter, and he had 5 3-pointers, and we came back and beat him. And
I was going to ask you, how do you set aside the fact that obviously you didn't like him and he didn't like you?
Well, it's not that I didn't like him. I love all my kids. They're your players.
Come on, Bob, come on.
No, but Rich, I have to say this. I didn't connect with him. I didn't connect with him.
In your 30 years, you always loved every player.
I'm using this one kid as an example. I didn't connect with him, and I would have to take him out of the locker room, walk him across to the weight room, and just kind of one-on-one with him. I wouldn't do it in front of the players per se, but I would have to, on more than one occasion, take him out of the locker room and kind of tell him what I thought. And then at the end of the season, I have to tell you, I called his dad and said, he can't play next year. He can't be part of our team. He can come to school, but he's not going to be part of a team. So his dad asked me what he did, and I explained to him his attitude and his approach to the game with his teammates. And his dad said, I want him to come in and apologize to the team, and I want to be there. And then he did. He came in the locker room and apologized to the team and didn't come back next year. And then here's the great thing about Curry. You love this. He was in Sports Illustrated, Faces in the Crowd, for making the most 3-pointers. and
No,
and the junior college All-American. So,
no.
so it is what it
Well,
is. You know, he was a
okay.
terrific player.
Let
He
me.
was a
It is.
terrific player, but you just couldn't. Sometimes you don't connect with your players for whatever reason, and you got to
Did
figure
you?
out. I had a point guard once that every time I raised my voice at him, he kind of broke down. So one day I just pulled him to my side and I just told him what I wanted to tell him, and he responded beautifully. He just went out and played terrific, and I finally realized, man, all these times I've been hollering at him, he kind of got embarrassed by it. But when I brought him to my side and told him what I thought, he was great. So you just gotta find out. Sometimes you can figure it out pretty quickly. Sometimes it might take a whole season to find out what makes them play to the best of their ability.
Well, how about the first guy? If he couldn't make 5 3-pointers in a game, you think you would have kicked him off mid-season?
No, no,
Come
no.
on, come
No,
on,
I
Rich.
mean, you should here. Look, this is the thing I tell other coaches: the quickest way to an athlete's mind is through his rear end. Sit him. Forget about suicides and running him. Sit them down. They get the message pretty quickly. When you
Did
sit
you
them and
have
they don't
any?
play,
Did you have any guys? What'd you coach? 30 years, 50 years,
no.
60 years?
Well,
I
at Hilton,
mean,
I was the head
we
coach
have
20.
all these teams through the years. Did you ever have guys that weren't stars, that were just there?
Right.
They were maybe third, fourth, fifth player in the team, or even a sub. You ever have guys that you saw, what is with this guy? He is weird. I don't like him. I mean, come on, you have to have
Oh
some of
yeah, I
those
had
guys,
guys.
right?
I had guys like that. Absolutely, absolutely had guys like that.
What did you
And
do?
you can't push them aside. You got to bring them in your office and talk to them and tell them how you see it, how you feel, their attitude, their approach. They're not being a good teammate. I was really big about being good teammates. And yeah, there are guys like that, Curry, probably every season. But you got to bring those guys in and talk to them and explain to them what you see in them and what you expect out of them and what you want them to do. If they want to play, then they're going to have to adjust to the philosophy of the staff and what we're trying to accomplish.
I think this thing with Flores and Tua, really in the center of this, I think, was a third guy who has not been mentioned that much, and that's Justin Herbert. Because when Tua was drafted in 2020,
Right.
he was the fifth pick, and Justin Herbert was the sixth pick. And as I understand it, the Miami ownership fell in love with Tua or something and demanded that he be drafted. That Flores didn't want to draft him. That's
Oh,
why this whole thing happened. And
okay.
because he loved Herbert and he wanted Herbert. And to me, he probably, as he's coaching Tua every day, he's seeing this guy that he didn't even want. And he wanted Herbert, bigger arm, taller, stronger.
Sure.
The guy that can. There's a big difference between Herbert and Tua, and that's what I think happened. And the guy won 19 games
Right.
when this relationship is going on. That's
Yeah.
strange to me.
Right.
So
Well, I think
solution to
he probably
solution
barked
to
at
the
ownership over and over again. Ownership probably got tired of him. That's why he got rid of him after 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
solution to the story. Don Shula should still be coaching the Miami Dolphins. This kind of thing would not be happening.
That's
Would
true.
not. All right.
That is true.
We are about out of time. We have probably taken people way too far out in the weeds, but it's been a terrific show for not having a heck of a lot to talk about event-wise. We'll hopefully have more. We got the start of the college football season coming up. We got to dive into that and go get that next week, and we'll all pick a different team to win the World Series. For Rich Basirico,
like Georgia Tech is playing Florida State like next Saturday. That's right.
Saturday in Dublin.
This Saturday.
Yeah.
In Ireland.
We don't really need events, Bob. We don't need events to do this show. Just listen to Rich's and Muhammad Ali stories.
Great stuff. We want to thank Justin Jarrett for producing this mess. We want to thank Hudson's on the Docks for sponsoring it. Again, for Rich Basirico and Curry Kirkpatrick, I'm Bob Stevens. Thanks so much for joining us. Under the Bus.
Thank you.
Under the Bus is a production of the Loco Media Network and is filmed on the Hilton Head Island campus of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. The executive producer is Justin Jarrett, with assistance from Trey Ramsey, Mahogany Hickman, and Adam Carroll.